Explicit Materia, the podcast where a nerdy drummer talks to his friends, is back with a guest I've been wanting to have on the podcast for a while now. Beta Angarole is a singer, songwriter, actress, director, creator, just a one-stop shop for everything. She does it all. We've been friends for a while. She's been on several reality TV shows like The Voice, The Sing Off, House Hunters Renovation. She's just a very motivated, confident individual, and we always have great talks, and it was a blast to have her on finally. And we had a great talk about her life, her projects, and our thoughts on staying motivated, depression, music, TV shows, just a whole bunch of stuff. You can find her on Instagram and Twitter at beta_life with 2 I's. Before we begin, be sure to follow me on social media, Twitter at The Wise Drums, Instagram at Wise Drums, video clips of the podcast on youtube.com/wisedrums, and the Wise Drums Facebook page has other stuff that's not really related to the podcast, but other stuff as well, like drum covers and video game Let's Plays and videos that I make that aren't necessarily related to this podcast. But be sure to follow the Explicit Materia Facebook page because I put video clips on there as well. So, yes, let's get to it, shall we?
Do you? Do you know what I'm gonna get? The new Nintendo Switch.
You are?
Is that like not a cool thing to get according to gamers?
No, it's a great thing.
Okay, because I'm obsessed with Zelda.
It's critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
I believe it's sold the most out of any piece of anything Nintendo ever. Which is really impressive, considering how many pieces of technology Nintendo has come out with.
Do you think it's because of Zelda, though?
Well, every like Zelda, Mario. I mean, I get Mario. Mario Odyssey just came out, and people are raving about it. They're saying it's the best Mario that's come out.
Is it Mario Kart or the classic Mario?
Classic Mario.
Really?
It's this generation's version of classic Mario. And it came out for the Switch.
I hear you, and I love Mario, but I think the selling point for most people was Zelda.
Yes. Pause. Pause that. Hold that thought for 1 minute.
Zelda. Oh my God, those little tiny claws on that floor is too much.
That'll be funny. Then I'll go to the hospital. I broke my tailbone being an idiot.
You went to the Wait, you broke your tailbone?
No.
Oh.
No. Thank God. Because if I had broken my tailbone ever, because I used to play football, that was one of my biggest fears, is breaking my tailbone.
Really? You used to play football?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know you were sporty,
sports.
Shane.
I was big into sports. Basketball,
really?
Baseball, football. Yeah. I was the fastest white boy on that team.
Oh, so you were good at the sports.
I was. Well, okay. not the best, but I was good enough to be second string running back and first string linebacker.
Yes, Shane.
What up? Yeah.
I would also like to piggyback on that and say that I played many sports growing up as well. And you want to know what award I always got at the end of the year?
Best participation.
Close. Best attitude. I wasn't very good, but I'll tell you what, I had a great attitude.
What kind of sports were you into?
Can I cuss on this podcast?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because I do that.
If you want to. I don't want you to offend anybody in your camp.
No, I think if they are offended by me, I don't want them in my camp. So bye.
Love that attitude. See? Best attitude. You win.
I do win. I do have really good attitude. Okay, what was your question? Oh, what sports did I play?
Yeah.
Well, Shane, being the youngest of 3 women in my family, my dad being in the military, I took on the mantle of pretending to be the son. So I was this bit of a tomboy, and I tried to play, and when I say the word try, imagine it in capital letters and in quotations. Tried to play soccer. I did track for approximately 2 weeks. Basketball in middle school, and my forte in basketball was picking. Also blocking, picking. I don't even know. Just aggressive, like...
Picking is a very important aspect of basketball.
Yeah, it's the only thing I knew.
I was very good at that.
I just knew that I could hit people and be kind of aggressive.
You're not supposed to hit them. You're just supposed to stand your ground. Because if you, that's the thing about picking. To be really good at picking is you have to make it look like you're standing your ground and you're not moving. Because if you move forward to like edge at all, then that's a foul.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was fairly stocky, so I felt like I was just kind of like a rock in the middle of just a stocky rock.
How old were you?
Middle school, so 11, 12. No, you know what? It was late elementary because I blossomed in 6th grade. 5th grade, still very chubby. A small, chubby New Jersey girl. Not from New Jersey, but looked like I was. Like very Italian and tan in Wisconsin. So I did basketball. Was that Ashley?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's going to play with Pig she's going to entertain the dog while we're talking.
I thought her voice was coming through a speaker. That was so weird. So basketball, soccer, volleyball was my big thing in high school. That was where I got a lot of the best participation. And I don't think I did any sports after that. I just decided that I was not meant to play sports. I was meant to sing.
Yeah, you're very musical. Yeah, I mean, that's when I first met you. Your band was called Beta Pop and the Neon Panthers, correct?
Well, Beta and the Neon Panthers. Okay. But my name on social media was Beta Pop.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Is your whole family musical? Like,
yes.
Because your sister sings, obviously, because she was part of the Neon Panthers, which is, I just fucking, me and Ash were talking about that because we knew you were kind of come on, and you're like, man, remember her band?
I know,
Beta
right?
and the Neon Panthers? What a fantastic, great, like strong feminine name, you know? Like, it's just great.
Especially if you want to tap into like panther, like cougar, like, you know,
that's when you
preying bring it on younger men, even though we were in my early 20s.
Right, but you'll bring it back when you're 50.
Yeah,
you know,
Beta
you've
and the
had
Neon
a few
Cougars.
Divorces.
Yeah,
and, you know.
Beta and the Neon Cougars, for sure. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I went to, so growing up, I grew up really conservative. I grew up in what I like to call a triangle in Madison, Wisconsin. So my school was owned by my church. They were right next to each other. And then across the street was my house. And so literally it made the shape of a triangle. And I grew up in a fairly charismatic Christian community. So, someone's calling me. Someone from Wisconsin.
We're podcasting. You tell them. You're going to take the call?
Excuse me? I'm currently being interviewed. So I grew up as a charismatic Christian community. We were called non-denominational, but I think the denomination, if you're familiar with denominations that we closest resembled, was Assemblies of God. So charismatic Christianity. Are you familiar with charismatic Christianity at all?
No.
Well, let me just tell you, Shane. Because how did you grow up?
Did
you have any
up
religious
fairly
affiliation?
Secular, and my mother.
Oh, Vegas. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So my parents basically didn't really go to church, although my mom went to church every Sunday for when she was a kid, and you know her mother and her father are very religious Catholic. So you can guess why she stopped going to church, because Catholic. So, and then when I was born and I started to be able to talk and understand, and I was baptized, and
of course, gotta get to heaven.
Yeah. But we never really went to church every Sunday because my parents were avid football fans. So that interfered.
Packer fans, right? Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin Packer fans, or Green Bay. Yeah.
The Packer religion overwrote the Catholic religion in my family.
That is a breaking of the 10 Commandments, Shane.
So when I was a kid, being young, 5, 6, and starting to hear the Catholic, if you don't go to church every Sunday, you're damned. You will go to hell.
Did they really preach that?
Well, no, they didn't preach that, but other kids who were Catholic would say, you don't go to church every Sunday, you're going to go to hell.
Yeah, we're questioning your faith in God.
So I told my parents we should start going to church because I don't want to go to hell, and I think we should do that. And I was a little 5-year-old, and my mom was like, oh my God, a tear came down, and she was,
Mom.
Yeah, it's like, we should go to church, and we started going to church. And then a couple years later, I was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
And it's Catholic church, so it's just
It's very liturgical, which I think is something since I didn't grow up in a liturgical Christian community, when I grew up, I learned to really appreciate liturgy. So now I'm really drawn to Episcopalian or Catholicism. But a funny thing growing up in the charismatic Christian community, there were the Christians and then there were the Catholics. We did not consider them Christians. And do you want to know why?
Why?
One big theological point is because they worshiped Mary. And
that's right.
We considered that heresy, essentially, because you were worshiping someone other than God or Jesus. So
it's so interesting to me, just how you have a basic religion, Christianity, that offshoots into different other basic, but they still believe the basic big things, right? Jesus, he existed. Joseph and Mary, they existed. It's not such a big shoot from, like, let's say Judaism. Judaism is starkly different than Christianity. Not so much.
Founding fathers, but at the point where Jesus is born, it splits.
They went this way.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's just fascinating to me, just all these different dominations and how vitriolic it could be.
Yeah.
Against each other, just for that one small little difference.
Yes, and that is why there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different denominations, and they just keep, making new little shooting off of each other, and it just continues to be fairly divisive in the Christian community, honestly, on tiny little theological disagreements. But that being said, there are some really beautiful Christian communities that are very welcoming and accept a lot of different trains of thought. So, and I like to think that I'm part of that sort of community here in Nashville. But, Karis, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So the original question was your family musical? And we went into...
Sorry, I feel like we always end up talking about religion.
It's great.
We
can talk about religion.
Yeah,
sure.
I
really want to know, because I don't think I really asked you about your family and how you've became so musical and how because you've done a lot of musical great things.
Yeah.
Like you were on that a cappella show that was like American Idol a cappella with Nick Lachey.
Yes.
Which we'll get into later. But the original question stands.
Yeah.
So your family is all musical.
Yeah. So I think I started talking about growing up. So I grew up in a Christian community. And one of the things that I did starting at 12 years old was I was singing on what they would call the worship or the praise team. So I was leading people into the presence of God, and there were probably 1,500 people by the age of 12 or 13, and playing the piano and learning how to play chords and learning how to work with a band at a very, very young age. And my mom sings. She sings beautifully. She sounds like Barbara Streisand. Evergreen, barely seen by two. She's amazing. She sounds so beautiful when she sings.
Don't rain on my parade.
Hello, don't even get started. And my father is father. I never call him that. Dad is an amazing vocalist. Both of my parents used to sing duets in church growing up, and me and my sisters were harmonizing. I remember when I was 4 or 5 years old and my mom teaching me the harmony. That's exaggerating. Maybe I was 6. And my mom teaching me the harmony to go into the chapel and we're gonna get married, because we all sang it at my aunt's wedding. And we were harmonizing at a really young age. And we just grew up singing and challenging each other, specifically me and my middle sister. So I'm the youngest of 3. My middle sister, Emily, always challenging each other and singing who could do better runs, and like listening to a Mariah Carey song and like trying to outrun each other. So still to this day, constantly telling the other one that they're flat. So we've just always...
I can just imagine your household, just little girls just trying to hit those Mariah Carey runs.
My poor dad. All I want is a son. Well, you didn't get a son. You got runs. Sons. You didn't get sons. You got runs. So I'm going to take a drink. And then after high school, my school was very small. I graduated with 28 people. I like to say you were popular by default. So I was very well known for singing, of course, because there was only 28 of us. And it just kind of felt like after high school, I should go to college, and I guess I should major in music, and I guess I should just... So that's what I did. I applied at Belmont, a big music school here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I got a scholarship, and I went, and... Studied there for 4 years, commercial voice with an emphasis in music business. And then my stomach is growling. Can you hear it?
No. Was that your stomach? I thought it was my chair.
Nope, pretty sure it's my stomach.
Oh my gosh, you haven't probably eaten anything today.
I have. I actually just ate like kale salad, and it's still making very strange noises. Shh. So yeah, then I went to college, and already said that. So yeah, and then after that, just started my band, Beta and the Neon Panthers.
Which was an awesome little electro pop group.
Yeah, Beta and the Neon Panthers, I like to say, was an exercise in my ex-Tina phase. My friends would always call it my ex-Tina phase. You know, when Christina Aguilera went through her, like, I'm going to get done, whatever. So I used to be very conservative before that, like trying to lead my friends to Christ on worship team. And then I was like, after college, I was like, fuck this. Like, I need to figure out what I believe. And I want to be like sexy and do a pop band and like figure out what the world means. So then I changed my name. I went to Beta. My birth name is Brienne, and I changed my name. I forced everyone to call me Beta. And I got my sister, the middle one, who we argue all the time about the other one being flat, and my best friend to be my background dancers. And I wore these big rose-colored glasses because I was like, I've got to brand myself, and people like have to know who I am. And this was just right before Lady Gaga just started to get known. This was like Janelle Monáe was just starting to release things, and they really inspired me, and I wanted to be bigger than life. And and it was in Nashville before the pop community had really taken hold. So it was a very interesting thing trying to break through and be noticed as a pop artist, specifically what I was doing, because it was a little ridiculous with songs like This Beat Is My Bitch. And
but I loved
that.
it though, because you guys had choreographed dance moves. I mean, it wasn't like jumping from the ceiling, crazy Cirque du Soleil stuff, but just the three girls just in sync with one another, doing twirls here and there with the music, and I was like, I appreciate this.
Yes,
I appreciate this a lot, and you guys sang great, and I love this. This is great.
Do you know where we got a lot of our dance moves from, Shane? And I think you'll appreciate this.
Who?
Not who. What?
What did you get your dance moves from?
Dance Revolution.
No shit.
I shit you not. That was so. Another thing is, it was kind of a satire. I was satirizing kind of pop music. Right. So me and my sister, my best friend, thought it was hilarious that we were acting like very serious pop divas on stage, very choreographed, and then giggling behind closed doors, saying, "We got all our moves from Dance Revolution." You know, it was kind of, and that's generally my outlook on life, is that it's all just one big satire, and I just think everything's fairly funny.
That's actually a really great way to look at the world, because I think you find that a lot today. Is a lot of people take things really, really seriously, and they read into headlines on, name your newspaper or name your app that you get your news from. Yeah, and they'll read the headline. Don't even read the entire article. They'll just read the headline, and I'm guilty of it too. I think we all are. We'll get a crazy headline.
Sensationalized.
We'll read half of it or the conclusion.
Right, last paragraph.
And then we'll make our opinion based on that. Just the one thing we read, and then don't go any further. Our opinion is set, and now I got to go on Twitter and then yell at people.
Oh my God.
And just it becomes this. It's weird. So that's a great way to look at the world, to see it's all satire.
It is.
Yeah.
That's not to say that pain isn't real. One thing my mom always used to say was, what did she say? It always hurts until someone gets funny. Instead of, it's the other way around. Yeah. It's always funny until someone gets hurt. Do you get it?
Yeah, I get that.
Oh, sorry. Why did I feel like I had to explain
that? But that kind of makes sense.
Well, it always hurts until somebody gets funny, because another philosophy I have is kind of, being melancholy or walking around having a very realistic view of the world, which is that happiness is not something that is constant, but joy is. Yeah. And learning to find joy and empathy in people's stories, and know how to make fun of yourself and other people when the time is right to lighten the mood. I think that's really, really important. And I think that, and I suppose I encompass that in the words, I satire life. But I do that in order to cope, I think.
To cope, or to maybe put yourself outside of the craziness, to be able to, because that's what I try to do.
Have an outside perspective.
Try my best to have an outside perspective, even though we're all born with our certain biases based on the environment we grew up in, or how our parents raised us, or stuff like that. And I think it's important, and it gets easier when you get older.
Yes.
When you're young, all you want to do is make the world better.
Yes,
that's all you want to do. And you hear something and you want to fight and you want to just change the world somehow. And then you get older and then you start understanding what real world problems is, like bills,
right?
Or having children,
yep.
Or name your problem.
The IRS.
Yeah.
Getting something in the mail from the IRS, which happened recently with me. It's okay, IRS. I have paid you. Everything's fine if you're listening. I think and as you were saying all of that, you're right. It allows you, when you satirize things and you satirize yourself, you learn to it's a kind of an out of body perspective, because you can look at yourself and say, how am I acting? What character am I playing into right now? How can I be more self-aware? It's almost an exercise of self-awareness for me.
Yeah.
If I can be like, I'm acting this way, I'm going to make fun of that immediately because I think it's ridiculous, and let's move on. Anyways, I don't even know how we got. Oh, my pop band was kind of a satire, but also very serious.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you moved on to, because I found this interesting too. You were touring prisons with your other group, which I'm blanking on.
Timothy's Gift.
Timothy's Gift.
Yep,
I almost said Anthony's Gift, but I knew that was incorrect.
Gift.
I knew that wasn't
very
correct.
Misogynistic name, yes.
So out of respect, I said I'm blanking on the name instead of misnaming it.
John's Gift.
So yeah, you would tour.
That's right.
You would tour prisons. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was going to a church called Grace Point, and they had this outreach called Timothy's Gift, and my friend Melissa Green, she used to sing in a Christian band called Avalon. She was the worship leader at the church at the time, and she partnered with a man named Ron Miller to become kind of the musical curator for this prison ministry, is what they were calling it at the time. When she got involved, it ended up being called the Hope Tour, and it ended up being more of an outreach. We kind of took Christian out of it, and we just went into prisons to lift people's spirits, and not necessarily going in there trying to lead them to Christ, or not necessarily. We did not go in there trying to convert anyone.
Yeah, you weren't trying to convert anybody.
No. We didn't go in there with any ulterior motive except to say, here are some amazing top 40 songs. Here are some throwbacks. Here are some spiritual songs. Hey, everyone is welcome to the table. We want you to know, no matter what you have done, that you are worth something. And let me just tell you, and I say this to everyone, what an exercise. If you do believe that there is a God, first of all. And if you believe that God is all loving, in Christian faith, they believe that God is all loving, that, and you look out into a sea of men and or women. There's more men incarcerated, so we were mainly at male prisons. We were at maximum security prisons. So you're looking out into the sea of men who have raped, molested, murdered, and you look out and you say to yourself, you are still worthy and you are still worth something. That is such an exercise in humanity, in empathy, and in your faith, honestly.
Yeah.
And that, selfishly, that was very powerful for me. And also, I remember talking to my good friend Lauren. She was in Beta and the Neon Panthers with me, and she also went on the tour. She also went on the prison tour with me. And saying, and you also have to remember that these people in prisons are family members. They're their sons and their dads and I remember looking at Lauren and I said, I just can't even imagine. I look out there, these men in these blue uniforms, and I said, I can't even imagine. Lauren, imagine your dad out there in that uniform, in that sea of men. Doesn't that change your perspective of these people? And she was like, yeah, it really does. It was a very crazy and interesting experience, but and very, very powerful, and it's got me advocating for prison reform. And honestly, I'm actually working with Melissa's actually branched off of Grace Point and started her own thing called Imaginarium. We're going to start our own prison outreach through Imaginarium, but working on a curriculum to build community within prisons, because that doesn't exist in prisons.
Oh, no way.
I mean, there is a community, but it's most of the time, fairly violent,
Yeah. I mean,
so
you pack the worst of the worst in one place. I don't imagine they're going to be gardening.
That's what we want, but you're right. They won't be.
Or checking their masculinity at any point. It's so great that you do that, and you're so right that when you do something like that and you go into the thick of it, mm-hmm. it really does check your perspective, because the narrative is these people have done wrong, they're monsters, and it's easy for the human mind to separate those people into monsters or people who are subhuman, mm-hmm. because they've done, honestly, subhuman things.
Yeah.
But they're people. They're people just like you and me. And based on whatever life they had, they thought this was necessary in their life.
Yeah.
Which is terrible and sad. And it's just, the whole thing is sad. But it definitely brings you back to a different outer body perspective.
Yeah, it just creates a level of empathy that you didn't know you had. And it also, but it's really hard to balance, because I think in real life you have to be, when you own a home and you're an adult, you have kids, or you have to be aware of perpetrators and people who have a tendency to do things that could harm you. And it's a very hard thing to balance, being aware of those people and protecting yourself and your tribe, and also extending an arm of empathy and grace towards them at the same time.
Yeah. But isn't that the beauty of the human condition?
Yeah.
That we are able to do that. But we're able to do, we're able to do terrible things. We're able to let rage and emotion dictate what we do. Mm-hmm. But we're also able to stop ourselves and go, wait, this isn't right. Mm-hmm. I can't do this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating.
There's darkness and light in all of us, isn't there? Yeah, it's really crazy. And that's another thing, that we would always say is, and even one of the prison guards said to us when we were walking in, I remember him saying, we're all just one bad decision away, but from being here ourselves.
Oh, and yeah. I've heard that before. It
was so powerful listening to a guard say that. It made me think, these men are lucky to have you as a guard, if that's really your mentality day in and day out.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to, because, I just watched the show called Mindhunter.
I watched all of it already. It's
incredible.
Oh, wait, there's only one season out, right?
Yes,
only one. Watched it. Done.
Yeah, done. Amazing. Mm-hmm. But the spoiler, the first serial killer he interviews is Ed Kemper. And Ed Kemper was really friendly with cops, and cops would be his friend and bring him special things because he was just so cool. Yet Ed Kemper just dismembered his grandma and his girlfriend and all these other girls and did these terrible things. Yet all these these prison guards were friendly with him because he was friendly and he was funny and he was smart and intelligent. And I mean, he can't do anything to us in here, so
isn't that crazy?
It's so crazy. Again, the human condition is so weird that we're able to just.
What a dichotomy! What a that fucks with your head. That's so hard. Oh my god!
And even towards the end of that season, where he hugs Ed Kemper, again, spoiler.
Ed Kemper's the really big guy, super tall.
Big dude, and he's super smart and charming almost. And you're just, and then
didn't he chop off his mom's head?
Oh yeah,
and should we say that?
Yeah,
on the podcast.
Yeah,
was he a real person?
Yeah. All the people that they interview in the show are real people.
Okay, it's about to get real dark right now. I'm going to say this, but Ed Kemper chops off his mom's head, and in one scene he's describing to this detective who is there trying to learn. Is he a detective? He's more of like he's an FBI psychologist trying to understand why these serial killers do what they do. And he's trying to understand why Ed Kemper did specifically this. He chopped off his mom's head and performed fellatio with his mom's head. And I mean, like,
don't mean to laugh, but it's just it's crazy.
So ridiculous. Like, you almost have to, because it's like, laugh so you don't cry.
Yeah, that's
so dark.
That's something that you would just, I don't know, put in a very dark book.
Well, but Ed Kemper said, it's because I wanted to embarrass her. Essentially, is what he said, because of the way his mother had treated him, because his mother was abusive towards him. And actually, I remember watching him talk about that, and as grossed out as it was, him describing that experience and why he did it, you have a little bit, you see a little light of humanity, because you say, well, you really took that far, but you went too far. But, that actually makes sense.
Well, look, if... not every child that is abused, turns out to be an Ed Kemper, obviously. No. Otherwise, we'd be in really big trouble.
Yeah.
But that's a definite possibility if you abuse your kid.
Yeah. Public service. PSA: don't abuse your children.
Yes.
That's trying to figure out what the acronym was.
That's the goal of this podcast.
Yes, it's a public service announcement.
But yeah, what I was saying was it's so crazy where you can empathize with his story, even though the conclusion of that story is that he does these terrible things. But he wasn't born. See, it's like they're in the show. They're struggling with the idea that people are born serial killers or born crazy.
Nature versus nurture.
And so this is the first time in history in the 70s that they really started to play around with the idea of environmental attributes to these people. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, maybe they weren't born crazy. Maybe his crazy mom turned him into this psycho killer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all responsible for our own choices.
Correct.
Like, your mom can't turn you into a psycho killer, but she can facilitate the just hit the mic. She can facilitate the whatever myelination happens that creates a thought process that allows you to go down these dark neurological pathways. Oh man, I was going to say something. What was I going to talk about? Crazy people. Oh, speaking of nature versus nurture, I have kind of crossed into the world of film recently.
I was actually going to ask you how the response has been for Bones.
That's right. Oh, you guys. Shane did music for one of my films, tapping this table, for one of my films, Bones, and
Shane and Kyle.
Yeah. And Bitlords, right?
Yeah,
you guys remembering Bitlords?
That was.
And God, every time I watch it, I am just like, fuck, this music is so good, y'all.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
it's so
that.
Good.
It was a lot of fun doing something like that. I thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
So whoever's listening, if you want to watch the film and listen to the amazing music, bonesfilm.com, you can go on there. You can listen to you can watch the trailer, and then you can watch the full film as well.
What is the film about? Let's go ahead. What the short indie film is about and how it came about.
Oh, okay.
Because not a lot of people know.
Well, let me go back. Just the reason I segued into that, because I wanted to say something else about nature versus nurture, if I may.
Got it.
And actually, then when we jump into Bones, it'll actually tie everything in nicely, because it actually kind of goes back to prison.
I love it.
Yes, we'll just... So I have actually been putting together a script for a film about... This was a story that I heard on NPR. It was a mom who adopted a child from somewhere in Eastern Europe, Russia, Slovenia, some Slavic country.
Transylvania.
Transylvania. Yeah. Transylvania. I can't do the accent. That's embarrassing. So essentially, this child that she adopted him when he was like 4 or 5, maybe. I could be getting the details wrong. I have to go back and get the correct numbers. But she adopted him. He wasn't a toddler. He's probably 4 or 5 years old. Mm-hmm. And He had, at this orphanage in Eastern Europe, they put these kids in cribs, and these kids do not leave their cribs at all from baby through toddlerism.
Oh my
I don't know if
God.
that's a word, but they only take the babies out to feed them and for them to go to the bathroom. They don't have any interaction with other children. These children are in cribs all of their life until they're adopted. So what happened? So this woman adopted this child, and first of all, the boy comes to America and has to learn how to speak English. So there's already a chasm created through communication. They can't communicate. So this child has to learn English. He has brand new parents. He doesn't even know what parents mean. To make a long story short, this child ends up trying to kill his mother at the age of 8 or 9. Very violent. Holds a knife up to her throat. And the dad looks at the mom and says, we cannot keep this kid. This kid is violent. And the mother looks at the father and says, this is my son, and I am not. If he kills me, then that's what happens. I love him.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Well, that's the heart of a mother, isn't it?
I guess that is.
That's the heart of a
great.
mother.
What a brave woman.
So they go to all these therapists, and he has a dissociative disorder, and a lot of these kids who get adopted from this Eastern European country have it. But they don't know what love means. They don't know how to love because they didn't have no one touch. It's so important with babies that they're held and they're nurtured, and they know what bonding is.
Yeah.
These children who don't have it, who are in these orphanages, they have no idea. They don't understand what being able to trust another human even looks like. So when he was 9, 10, they did all these different exercises. One of them, they went to this therapist, and one of them, to teach this child how to attach to another human being, they kept that he could not be more than 2 feet away from his mom. And they did it for over a month. He was 2 feet away from his mom. The only time they could be away from each other was when she went to the bathroom. He had to stand right by the door to try to teach him how to attach. It didn't work. And actually right after that attachment, I believe after that attachment exercise is when he ended up holding the knife up to his mother's throat. And you know what ended up creating the attachment for this child?
What?
The therapist recommended, when this child was probably 12 or 13 years old, that every night before he goes to bed, that they hold him like a baby and they feed him ice cream on a spoon. And they just held, the mom and dad laid with him every night, held him like a baby, fed him ice cream through a spoon. And he learned how to trust and love his parents. And the story is actually told from the boy at his high school graduation, talking about how much he loves his mom and how much he thanks her and thanks her for teaching him how to trust and to love, because a lot of these kids end up becoming sociopaths.
Yeah.
Because they don't know.
Why don't we hear... excuse me, fucking throat. Why don't we hear stories like that?
There needs to be more stories like that, and I hope to be able to make a film about it, because I think it's not only a story in educating people about the importance of bonding and making sure orphans are learning how to attach and bond with adults and other humans and are interacting, and how orphanages that keep children in cribs is abusive.
Yeah.
Not only that, but what's powerful to me, and it goes back to kind of the story of prison and love and being worthy no matter what you've done. It's this idea of unconditional love that this mother had for this child. It's just this very powerful story of sacrificial love. Really beautiful and really, really powerful. Like, I love you no matter, you could kill me, I love you.
Wow.
Like, that is so powerful and so beautiful to me.
That is really powerful.
Yeah. So anyways, Bones. Yeah. Short film Bones.
So is that how you're going to
I don't know. Horrible
slide
segue.
it into, segue into Bones?
So Bones, yeah. Prisons, yep.
So Bones is a independent film that you filmed last year?
I filmed it. It was, well, yeah, it probably took about 1.5 years to film completely. But we kickstarted it. We got the funding. We shot it, most of it over the course of 1.5 weeks. Oh, we did. Last February is mainly when we shot it. Okay. And then last fall, oh God, no, I'm getting this wrong. 2016, February of 2016 is when we shot it. Fall of 2016 is when we finished shooting it, and then we finished, like, we had the premiere, I think, February of 2017, this year at some point. Sorry, let me look at my Apple Watch. I can feel it buzzing because someone's calling me. It's my dad. Excuse me, Dad. So yeah, Bones is kind of, we had based it off of so after I did my pop band, I started a folk band, and we had to make music for licensing, because that's how musicians make money now. But I had written a song called Bones, me and my friend Anna Flott, and it was kind of based off of Wuthering Heights, blah, blah, blah. None of that's interesting. Point being, we were going to make a music video with this amazing director named Matt Underwood. And instead of making a music video for the band, we ended up turning it into a short film. And the process of that was about three years, writing it and getting it kind of smushed together into a 18-minute format. But it's a story essentially about a girl who finds herself in a situation where she could be sent to prison for life for something that she didn't do. And for me personally, it was an exploration in crimes of passion, because a lot of time in these prison systems, I'd find people who were there just because they got really mad at their husband or someone hurt them and they just felt like their only option was to kill someone. So, not that that's what happens in this film, spoiler alert, but it's kind of that same conversation, nature versus nurture.
It's a dark story, but it's a story that's realistic for sure. Like this definitely could happen. It's not.
Yeah, it's definitely could happen, and what it does, it kind of takes you through the story of what this girl experiences and how she ends up where she ends up is kind of ridiculous. But you're like, oh, I see how you got there. Shout out to Gear 7 production, John Matijak, Matthew Underwood, the director.
So you guys started the process of submitting it into festivals, or did that process come and go? Or?
Yes. So we submitted into some festivals and we're still submitting. Unfortunately, one thing that I have found, this film is absolutely gorgeous. It's top of the line. The director of photography from Still the King was our DP. He was amazing. John Matijak. But one thing I'm kind of learning with the festival circuit is specifically when we were entering, if it wasn't geared towards kind of a political statement, or specifically immigration was a big topic. People immigrating from Iraq to England, you know, that huge conversation that was happening. Yeah. I think it was I think it was Iraq. A lot of immigrant stories were doing really well in festivals. LGBTQ stories about the race climate. Our story was just a story, not just a story. It was a story about kind of a mystery, murder mystery sort of thing, without necessarily a social commentary to it. Yeah. Unless they were to explain it like I just did. So what I'm trying to say is, to do well in festivals at this juncture, you have to have implanted into your story a social commentary. We didn't have that. Needless to say, it's still doing great. We got, I'd have to pull up bonesfilm.com to look at the accolades we've received thus far. It has little badges on it from all the different things that we've done, but we're still submitting it to stuff. It's still one of the first films that I've produced, written, and starred in, and I'm really proud of it. It's really gorgeous. So anyways, yeah. I'm looking at it right now. Oh, Film Shortage. We got Short of the Day on Film Shortage. We screened at Nashville Film Festival. What else is on there? I know Matt's submitting it to a few other things. Where would the accolades be? It should be at the top, like the little laurel. The laurels. The laurels. I'm at bonesville.com. Do I hit enter? Oh, yeah. Push enter. Okay. Sorry. And I got Seed and Sparks featured on Film Shortage. Mm-hmm. It says Best Scripted Shorts Online. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the festival process is a long one. So it's just, you just keep submitting, and it's also fairly political. Yeah, like everything. Yeah, so, there's so many amazing pieces, the stories out there that aren't in festivals but stand alone and are absolutely gorgeous and amazing, and people need to be getting on Vimeo or Film Shortage and watching this work because I'm just blown away.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It looks very, very, very professional.
Well, it is.
Everyone. It's so funny when you say an indie film. You know, it's people just think of, I don't know, just something that a person like me who don't usually. I'm not a film buff. I don't watch the latest indie social commentary ever. Someone like me could watch this and just sit down and watch it and be like, oh, okay, I'm interested.
Yeah,
just based on how it looks.
Yeah, the production is insane.
That's the first thing you see. Production, good. Production, bad. See you, bye. Exit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's true. Like, production value is a huge thing that gets your foot in the door with anything. If your product has to have a good production value. I was talking to the lighting guy. I can't remember. Oh God, I can't remember his name. He's amazing. But I was like, hey, like, what was the last thing you worked on? He's like, oh, Dark Knight. I was like, oh, you were the light guy. He's like, yeah, I was light guy.
It's my favorite movie.
Or like, just everyone who worked on it was insane, and I was very lucky, very, very lucky to have that team behind that project. So
that's awesome. So let's piggyback to what you've been doing now, as far as, because you've now pursued a career in acting. Correct?
Yeah, so I still do music. I still write with artists. I still do licensing with my folk band Youngest Daughter, and that will never be ruled out. I will always be doing music. I love it. It's a huge part of who I am. But I have started really focusing on film, not just acting or being an actor, but directing and DPing. And it's just another medium of storytelling. I got to a point with music, specifically because every song I was writing for myself, I pictured a music video first. Mm-hmm. So finally I was like, why aren't I making film? Film just felt so far out of reach because it was so...
well, it's expensive and it's a whole hell of a lot of work. Yeah, and you have to depend on so many other people.
Yeah. It's incredibly collaborative. I
mean, I guess like a band, but but you know, with a band you have 2, 3, 4 people to deal with, and you're all concentrating on one thing: writing the song and then putting it out there.
Yep.
With film, you have to get DPs, you have to get hands, you have to get all these different people to focus and do their part to make this giant project work.
It's insane, and I will tell you, with creating Bones, the level of collaboration that it took was such an amazing experience for me. And it taught me that when you pull people together on a project who are good at what they do, and you're able to delegate to people you trust, that they will kill it, it's an amazing experience. And as I've gotten older, I just turned 30, I am realizing whatever I do now, I want to work with people who kill it because I know I'm going to kill it.
Surround yourself with people who are better than you at something.
Exactly. Everything I do now, I want to be doing it with excellence. I want to be showing people what I am capable of. It's none of the, I'm not going to, I turned 30 and all of a sudden I felt like I was an adult all of a sudden. I started saying no to things. I started being like, no, man, I'm really good at this. Like, you need to pay me this. You need, and especially as a woman, it's almost like I got to this point where I was like listening to my male friends and listening to their success and saying, why I need to change the conversation in my head.
There you go.
If I am going, I can't belittle myself. I can't, what's it called when you self-deprecate my abilities just to sound humble when I'm actually really good at certain things.
Correct. I think it's a problem with a lot of musicians too. I do that constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just, you want to sound like, you don't want to sound like a douche saying like, I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
But if you're confident in your abilities, you should be confident in your abilities. Don't be a douche, but just I can do that. Absolutely. Let me do it.
Yeah.
I'm and you say it with a strength.
Well, and it's saying it, but also having things to back it up. It's like, yeah, I can do that. Look what I just wrote. Look at the project I just did. This is what I'm capable of.
Yeah. Which
I think is something where I'm at this point in my life where I was like, yeah, I've done many things. I've got you. Don't worry about it. We're going to be fine.
Speaking of many things, I need to talk about this because we never really truly talked about this.
Okay.
That you were on that show.
Oh my God. Yes.
A nationally syndicated show.
Oh my God.
What is it called? Is it
The Sing Off.
The Sing Off? Yes.
Timothy's Gift, the prison ministry, was on the Sing Off. Shane, let me just preface it with this, and I joke about this kind of stuff all the time. I have been on so many reality shows. It's ridiculous.
What other reality shows have you been on?
Well, I did The Voice.
Okay, that's right.
American
Okay, that's what you mean
Idol.
by reality show. I mean, I think like when you say reality show, I immediately think Real World Road Rules Challenge
no.
and Kim Kardashian.
But what a dream that would be. I did The Voice. I did. Me and my friends always make jokes because I always give people my list of things I've been on. So The Voice, you may have seen me national television for 2 seconds. Or you may remember me from, I'll just give you my whole spiel that I give people. Okay. Oh, hi, my name's Beta. You may remember me from, The Voice Season 2. I was on national television for at least 2 seconds. You may remember me from The Sing Off Season 5, Holiday Special Edition, 1 episode. Tied for 4th runner-up. You may remember me from American Idol, the last quote-unquote season. National television, again, at least 5 seconds. You remember me from HGTV, House Hunters Renovation. I wore a pink wig, an entire episode. It's like the stupidest things, but
How are you landing all of these great reality shows?
They're just like the stupidest thing.
The singing stuff, but how did you land the HGTV thing? Oh, because you're into realty too. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're into fixing up houses and
God.
staging them. And
so
you just do it all, don't you?
I don't know how. So many things interest me, and
But again, back to the.
Sorry, yeah. Let's go back. We can talk to about that.
Back
in a second.
to the Sing Off, because me and Ash were watching that show, and we, not to take away from what you guys did, because you guys did great. I was so proud of you guys, and you guys sang great, and I was like, hey, we took a picture and sent it to you. We were like, hey,
it was so amazing. They lined their faces up to, they like paused it and then backed up and put their faces up to the TV so that it looked like they were in a photo with me on TV. It was really cute.
So did you meet Nick Lachey?
I met Nick Lachey. We actually had a mutual friend. So I was like, hey, Nick, do you know this guy? And he was like, yeah.
Is he cool? Or
He's
is
really
he
sweet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he was really sweet. Very kind.
Did you meet Patrick Stump? Any of the judges? Because it was Patrick Stump, Jewel,
and
it was someone else.
God, I'm the worst right now.
It was anyway. I remember watching that show, and I don't know, because I know they edit it to whatever. But when after the singers would be done singing, and then judges would talk, just like American Idol,
right,
or any other show like that, Patrick would always mention, my band, blah, 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 blah. And he would just always mention his band. And I was like, God, stop it, Patrick. You're a great singer.
Worst. God, we get it. You're successful. Jeez.
When you always bring it back to Fall Out Boy somehow. I'm like, dude, I get it. All right.
The producers were in his ear saying, you need to talk about Fall Out Boy. I was like, oh, God.
But
that's how it works.
We had a running joke where Nick Lachey would try to talk and say something, and the judges would cut him off or something. I can't remember what exactly happened, but we would have this running joke, and we would just watch that show, and we just had this completely in our imagination. Obviously, it wasn't like this, but there was one moment where Nick tried to say something, and the judge cut him off or something. Or how they edited it was really funny.
Nick, shh.
And
you're just there to look pretty. Shh. Shut up, shut up.
Nick, come on. I mean, let the real people talk. Let the real successful
Poor
people
Nick.
talk here. You had your chance. You had your chance to spotlight. You're just the host now.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, we just imagined the judges. Shut up, Nick Lachey.
In his earpiece. Nick, shh. Nick. Wrap it up. Put a button on that. Shh.
It was so funny. But
Poor
yeah.
guy.
So that whole experience was, I imagine, a lot of fun and really nerve-wracking.
It was amazing. I will say that we all went in.
It was
F.U. Nick Lachey. Oh my God.
That's what it was. Fuck you, Nick Lachey.
Get out of here, y'all fucker.
Every time he started to talk.
Oh my God. Was it a drinking game? Did you guys get drunk?
I don't know.
It
Poor Nick
should've been.
Lachey. He's the nicest, probably the nicest dude in the world, but
He really is. He's amazing.
Because of that, I don't know. It's because of that it became the joke. Like, fuck you, Nick Lachey.
Oh my God. Yeah. Nick Lachey is the kindest and very beautiful in person, I must say.
He aged well.
He did age well. 98 degrees. I just saw him in the Macy's Day Parade. They're coming back, bitches.
Yeah.
Yes, 98. What's a 98 degree song? Can you think of one?
I can't. Baby,
Ashley?
Baby, do you know a 98 degree song?
How does that go? Come on, girl.
The hardest thing?
I'll ever have to do to look you in the eye and tell you I don't love you.
Oh my God. If I knew it, I would sing it for you guys right now, but I don't know it.
They did have a holiday.
I was very sheltered as a child. I only knew Hanson.
Every single boy band had a holiday album.
Did they?
Well, come on. Why wouldn't you? You're a boy band.
True. True day.
NSYNC had one.
True day.
Backstreet Boys had one.
Did Hanson?
Oh, I don't know. Do they count as a boy band?
100%.
Because they played their instruments.
Oh.
So, and that's weird. When you think of boy band, you just think of 5 singers and then whoever's playing
just
music,
dancing
whatever.
and ripping off their shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. I guess I wouldn't qualify. Hanson is a boy band, but you don't. That's not necessarily how you. Yeah, my totally.
Jackson 5. See, in that case, if you call Hanson a boy band, then you'd have to call Jackson
And the
5
Beatles.
and the Beatles.
A boy band. And it's a little patronizing calling them a boy band. It's like you're not very good. You're just a boy band.
Yeah.
You're just a girl band.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a girl band, is there? Oh, I mean, their guess there is, but we didn't call it
We didn't.
Spice
Girls?
Spice Girls, but we
Wasn't a
never
girl
called them a
band.
girl band.
What did we call them? No.
A girl group.
Girl group.
Yeah, which is better,
group.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
Let's move forward.
Yeah.
I'm just
let's move on.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
We've dug deep into that. I don't think we can go much further. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the sing off.
Oh my
Nick
God,
Lachey, and how
Nick
you should
Lachey.
Just stop talking.
But it was an amazing experience because we went into it without the producer that actually called Melissa and asked her to put together a group. And we had gone in there without a lot of expectations because we weren't an a cappella group. We weren't hardcore, no instruments kind of group. We were all a bunch of like soloists who went in there and learned how to blend and sound amazing. And, we didn't have a beatboxer. We didn't have any of that. We just went in there and we're like, let's all belt and do lots of runs. And it actually turned out really, really cool. And Deke Sharon, we worked with Deke Sharon, and Ben Bram, who just, they do a lot of the Pitch Perfect stuff. And they taught us like different clapping stuff. And it was to kind of substitute for percussion, not having a beatboxer. Really amazing. So even when we got 4th runner up, we were all just like, dude, like good game, like best attitude award. You know what I'm saying? We were just like, yeah, this is. I'm like, I'm used to this best attitude award. I can get.
Yeah.
I'm used to not getting first. It's fine.
Hey, but you did it. That's an accolade. You can put that right on the list.
Yes, I sang a cappella on national television. So amazing experience. And honestly, it got Timothy's gift name out there as a prison reform outreach. And once again, really excited about the new prison outreach that Melissa's doing with Imaginarium. I think it'll be called Imaginarium : Prison Outreach. So anyways, if anyone wants to learn more about that, follow Imaginarium. I think it's probably Imaginarium.com. I don't know. Google Melissa Green, Imaginarium, and you'll find it. Anyways, so yeah, did the old reality TV circuit. Been there, done that. Got nothing actually. Because it doesn't pay except food.
How does the HGTV? I always wonder that. Yeah. I always wonder like what's real and what's not. Like I know they put the prices for everything on there, and renovating the basement was $3,000.
Yeah.
How realistic is that number?
I'll tell you this so I've recently I've been interested in real estate, and I've been in real estate and renovation and all that stuff for many, many years, over a decade. My family's been doing it for a really long time. I've just started to take on clients and doing it professionally, but part of that journey was doing an HGTV show with my real estate friend Elliot Thomas, where he goes out and buys HGTV House Hunters Renovation. Episode 11, Modern House, Retro Problems. No, Retro House, Modern Problems. So anyways, I did this show with him where I was his friend / designer, and you find a home and then you renovate it, whatever. one thing you'll find out when you're even like watching Joanna Chip Gaines, the numbers that they're giving people to fix things is like maybe just the materials. So triple it.
Yeah,
this
labor.
is going to cost you $1,000. It will be $3,000.
Yeah.
So you can't really trust the numbers that they're giving as far as how much it's going to cost to do something because they're doing it. You have to pay someone to do it, and that's 50% of the cost.
Correct.
That math doesn't actually add up because I said it would be 3 times more. That's 66% of the cost. So, yeah, you're welcome. So, 66.66%. But yeah, the HGTV House Hunters renovation thing was super fun. It's I don't know how much I should reveal about the reality of how they produce those.
If you
maybe
I don't want you to get in trouble.
I think it's more fun if people don't know how it works.
Yeah, I just always wonder
the magic of
those.
it.
Yeah,
but
and I also wonder. The banter that Chip and Joanna.
Chip and Joanna Gaines, yeah.
Yeah, I always wonder how it seems like a lot of that is truthful improv, and then there are some where, wait a minute, this seems very staged.
Yeah, I think that in any situation like that, there's especially they've been doing it for such a long time, so a lot of it's just kind of their natural chemistry, and then other times they'll be like, oh, this will be funny, do this, and then it's like, oh my god, look at this light bulb, it's so big.
Or Property Brothers, where they'll find a problem and they'll go, oh my god. Commercial.
Yes. Oh my. Oh, we definitely had to do that. Elliot, act really surprised right now. Act like you just saw that this huge repair has to happen that's going to cost you $10,000. He's like, I don't have to pretend that this sucks. This is horrible.
This is a natural reaction to those numbers.
Exactly. So, yeah, it was that was great, but could you guys hear me gulp and then do that? It's really disgusting.
Water is good for you.
What are you doing right now?
What am I doing?
Catch me up, yo.
Catch you. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been conversing together in the same room. Mm-hmm. Well, I just been trying to go on this journey of trying to find myself and have fun and be content.
Ah, yes.
Be content because, you know, you're a musician, so you understand. You put so much effort and hard work and dreams into a project, and you get to that point where you actually really think that, oh man, well, this might actually do something. I might actually get to follow my dream and become a full-time musician that's in a known band, and I get to tour and I get to do all these great things. And then when it doesn't happen the way you think it will, you step back and realize, oh, I haven't really done anything for me. And I'm speaking in a drummer's perspective. Because I've always been a drummer. I love drumming. I love drumming for bands. I love drumming live. It's visceral. It's fun. I get the aggression out. And I'll always be a drummer.
Right.
But I never really thought, what else do I want to do? What if the drumming thing isn't there for me? What if I think I'm good enough to do those things, but what if just the market's not there and it's not right and just the timing is off? What else do I have? And I started really thinking about it. What do I really love? What will I love for the rest of my life?
Ashley.
Music's one, and my wife, of course. Music's one thing, and I tried doing that, and it is fun. But then I started realizing that I really love podcasting. I love listening to podcasts, and I started realizing, I haven't listened to music in almost a year because every time I have free time, I'm not listening to music. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to Radio Lab. I'm listening to Joe Rogan Experience. I'm listening to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. I'm listening to these really intelligent. I feel like I'm learning a lot, and it's fun for me. And I'm like, I didn't know that. That's crazy. So I was, I want to do that. I want to give it a shot, and it's fun. I really like doing it, and it gives me another reason to hang out with people, my friends who do interesting things, and just talk about bullshit, talk about topics. It's so fun. It's really fun, and it exercises my creativity just enough to satisfy me. You know? It doesn't make it, it's really hard. Like when you write a piece of music and you just hit that point where you're like, it's not sounding right.
Right.
And you start driving yourself crazy and you're like, God dang it, it's not working. And I'm sure you do that with video editing and stuff like that
It's
too.
not telling the story how I want it to be told, and that's really frustrating. Yeah.
Right.
Kind of getting to that point.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to see and try it out and focus on it. And then with the drumming and music stuff, the door is always open for me to play with whatever project wants me to play for them.
Yeah.
I just am now...
Shane is an insane drummer.
Well, thank you.
Seriously.
But now I want to be more selective. I want to use my talent to better me and not someone else's project anymore.
Good for you. Yeah.
So that's why I'm doing YouTube videos of songs that inspire me, and maybe eventually that would take off, and I don't know. I'm just having fun with it and focusing on myself. That's and I've never done that. Ever since I was 16 when I started playing in bands, my only goal was to make sure that band was successful, because if that band was successful, not only am I successful, but all my friends are successful. We have this project where we're gonna be big, and this is gonna be so much fun, and it'll be a dream come true. And for every single project, I've done it with that mentality. Putting all the stuff that I really wanted to do or really love aside. And, the thing with Five Knives stopped. And then that's when I was like, okay, now it's time. Now it's time to stop trying to be a drummer in a band and be...
Shane.
Be me. Exactly. Be Shane. Be Wise Drums.
Yeah.
you know, start... Yeah, that's basically
Well, and it's a scary thing when you branch off from being in a group or being in a pack, because now you're making a name for yourself, and it feels riskier sometimes. You have to rely on yourself, and at the same time, it's one of the most empowering things, because you are making a name for yourself.
And I tell you this right now, I've never been more stressed out in my life.
Oh, perfect. It's perfect.
Stress is probably a really harsh word, but always busy. I'm always thinking of because not only am I recording the podcast right now, I'm also recording it through video to put on my YouTube or my Facebook or whatever. And I'm also, I'm into editing videos now, and that's a lot of fun too. And it's new and it's fun, it's satisfying. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. I love it. And again, it's all me. I'm not relying on anyone else but myself. And it's empowering. It's stressful. And when the finished product is out there, I watch it back and I go, all right, some improvements here, but this is good. I'm getting better. Yeah. And that's my whole goal. I just want to get better and better and better at these things. Because I've already got the drums down. I don't practice anymore because
he's literally insane.
I'm not. I'm okay. Oh, you know what? I am good. I am good. Damn it.
You are. Yeah, you are. Yeah.
See, we just talked about this.
Yeah, stop being self-deprecating.
Self-deprecating
He's
myself.
insane. Yeah.
And so,
you have product to back it up. Any of your YouTube videos. Yeah. It's like stupid.
And I also wanted to make it a thing where I can do this in case a band wants to, hey, you text me, I saw your YouTube videos, hey, come on tour with us, and we'll pay you, and it's really great, and there's a bus, and blah blah blah.
Of course.
And I'm like, great, I'll do that.
You're gonna give me lots of cash, great.
So when I'm not doing those things and playing for bands or whatever, I'm doing this, and so I'm always busy, and I'm not depressed, because that's because there was a time where I was kind of depressed that Five Knives didn't work, and I was really depressed when the band before that didn't work, because they were all my best friends. Yeah. Not to say that Five Knives, I didn't love those people. I love those people.
You had more invested in
I had more invested interest in the other band with Kyle and Jim and Aaron, and they were all my best friends and still are. And it's scary to just put yourself out there. And I actually had a conversation. People who subscribe to my channel actually converse with me now, which you guys can totally comment on my videos and stuff. This is great. I don't see why you don't. I'm a lovely individual.
He is a lovely individual.
But someone had texted me and he said, your videos are great, or something to that effect. It was, I like your podcast. Your podcast is good. I wish a lot more people watched it. Isn't it frustrating that you put so much hard work into something and you don't get as many views as you'd like, or it's not as successful as you thought it'd be. And my response to him was, well, yeah, but you got to start somewhere. You know,
Yeah.
being in bands have helped me and prepared me for sucking. Sucking at first and then getting better over time.
You know, no, that's so true. I was actually thinking about that the other day, that I have failed so much in my life that things are scary, but I know what it feels like to fail. So it's okay. And it is okay. It is so okay to fail. You learn so much. And I know that sounds super cliche, but I literally had this moment like yesterday thinking about, as I walk forward into film and I do new projects, I know how to navigate things because I've been there, I've done that, and I know what failure looks like. And if I fail at this, that's okay. I'll pick myself back up. I also watched this video. I need to send it to you. It's a video of Jim Carrey talking about depression.
Oh, really? Did you see that Netflix special?
Oh, so good.
So good.
I got halfway through. I need to watch all of it.
It's so good. And it's not even good because it's talking about Andy Kaufman, which is also fascinating. But it was also fascinating to hear just Jim just talk about it, because he's kind of been, it's in the headlines that he's gone crazy, you know?
Yeah, I think he's actually become sane, but
yeah. The
Right.
argument could be said that he's been down this world of crazy Hollywood celebrity, and it's a crazy world, obviously, because some celebrities don't come out the other end.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and he it sounds to me like he's just looking at all of it and going, "You people are you not just you people, but this whole system is, for lack of a better word, fucked."
Well, yeah, I think actually it circles back to what we were talking about originally about satirizing life and having an outside perspective. And a lot of what he talks about now is like he's playing into different characters. I don't have a person. I am not. He's like, a personality is just a construct. Like, we are more than this. We are outside of this. And for me, that really resonated with me, because I said, that's so true. Because in the entertainment industry, you really have to box yourself up into something that people can understand. And just in general in life, people put you in boxes. They try to characterize you a certain way.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm constantly like, I'm so much more. That's not even what I am. I'm not. And I think as humans, just what Jim Carrey says about, he just has this very out of body perspective, which is kind of my mentality when I say I satirize life or whatever.
Yeah.
It's this idea of having an out of body perspective. Anyways, but I need to send you this video about talks about depression, because he talks about how he went in depression. And I go through cycles of depression and cycles of not doing anything and then doing a lot and then not doing anything. It's like this cycle.
Well, I think artists or creative people just go through that.
Well, yeah, but I also think humans, depression, people make it sound like depression is this horrible thing. And for some people it is actually chemical and it's constant, and it's not, they need to be on medication and they need all these things. And it's important that they have, it's amazing that we have those resources. But for me, it's very cyclical. And what Jim Carrey said about it was that he's like, when you're in depression, you need to listen to your body. When your body is depressed, it's because you need deep rest. You need to take a second and you need your body to rest and recalibrate what's important to you, who you want to be. He's like, depression is so important. To be depressed is to get deep rest. And it was just a very beautiful way of describing something that has such a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Very powerful, actually.
Because you need those down moments in your life to appreciate the good moments.
100%. And it's your spirit and it's your mind and it's your body recalibrating itself, and that's okay. And you have to give yourself grace and space for that.
Yeah.
People shame people for being depressed or being in this, I have such an amazing group of friends, I can, look at them and say, hey, I'm having a really hard week. I'm really depressed this week. Even one of my friends that my good friend Anna Flott, we do our licensing thing together. And I remember just actually the other week I hadn't gotten this mix together. And instead of just berating myself and being like, man, I'm so shitty, I can't believe I didn't do this, I'm so irresponsible, I just texted her, I was like, I'm having a really, really hard week. And she was like, hey, that's okay. How can I pick up the slack? Like, I get it. I just have this group of friends. We're all very honest about when we're having dark days and that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like, you had a dark day today? I had a dark day yesterday. Good luck. See you later, bitch. It's like, I was like, if you need me, I'll be here with wine. Just let me know.
Wine, the equalizer to
all emotions.
depression. Don't get crazy with it.
Yeah,
but,
don't get crazy. Don't get addicted.
Just use it when you need it.
But yeah, I just think I really love what you said about being content, because I think that is so, for me, that's been one of my quests in life, is always just to be very content. It is also married with a passion to be successful. And it's always that balancing act, but especially when you're with a long-term partner, you know, and you guys go through these ups and downs and there's all these different things, and you just learn how to be, when you can learn to be content, with your mirror, which is your partner, which who is Ashley. When you look at her and say, I am content, that means I am content with myself, because partnerships are such a mirror into who you are.
Right.
And so
I'm sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
please.
not expecting too much of them.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people,
and of yourself.
and I don't mean to, like, I don't know, Dr. Phil this thing I'm about to say, but because it's gonna sound like Dr. Phil.
If you could do that in that voice, I would be obsessed.
You can't expect too much from your spouse.
Yes, Shane. What? That was so good.
Dr. Phil was on the other day.
That was so good.
It's like Dr. Phil has a certain cadence where he talks like this.
He does. Oh my God, that's funny. You should do that more often.
But I think that's where a lot of people fail in relationships and
with themselves.
And with themselves, exactly. Is expecting too much of other people. I just, you know what? Like, your spouse is going to fuck up.
Oh,
And not to say that, you know, we're dealing
Ashley
with
keeps
fuck-ups.
fucking up. Ashley, goddammit.
I'm just saying, it's like, just expecting too much of your spouse. I keep saying that, but it'll lead you down a dark path.
You know what, Shane? Let me just tell you, in life, I've learned to lower my expectations of everyone around me. And let me tell you, it's made me the happiest person. It's made me incredibly self-reliant. I'm much happier. I'm much more gracious with everyone else. And it also allows me to have very elastic expectations of myself. It's just, you gotta be laid back, you know? You just gotta roll with the fucking punches.
God, Dr. Phil, though.
Oh, that was amazing. I don't think I can do
can't
any
remember what it
impressions.
was. It was, oh yeah, the episode that I had watched was the father was being too strict with his daughters.
Yeah.
He would make sure that they weren't hanging around with boys. Mm-hmm. Even though he met them once, and they're completely normal boys. I mean, they're 21, but still, I mean, of course there are things to be worried about. But
because they want to fuck everything. But yes, continue. Not to make any generalizations.
Of course, but at some point, because their daughters are adults now, they can do.
Yes,
but they're so
of
tarnished with this idea of this father figure telling them, "Hey, boys are terrible. Boys can't." But he shouldn't say boys are terrible. Boys can be terrible.
Yes.
You can't. You gotta let your daughter or son. You gotta let your children experience life. At some point, you can't continue to coddle them, because what that does is just gives them a warped view of the world.
100%. And you're, first of all, though, you need to go to therapy for your control issues. Holy crap!
There you go. That's what Dr. Phil said.
You just have to, and I said lower my expectations of people. That's a very negative way of saying it. I think another really, really good way to say that is you need to have a very large radius around people that you have relationships with. Like, when I look at you, I see you, and you have this large radius around you, and bubble around you, and that is your space.
It's my aura.
Yeah.
It's my green aura.
It's your green aura. And that's a space where I let you just be yourself, and there's nothing good and there's nothing bad about that. It's like, this is who Shane is, and that's his space, and I not only do I accept it, I rejoice in it, and I think, and
you can learn from it.
And I honor it, and I learn from it. And I have a friend named Brett McLaughlin,
Is it McLaughlin or McLaughlin?
McLaughlin. He has, and another friend, Stephen Darden, and another friend, Aaron Manning, a lot of my friends, who I've been friends with since college. All of my friends are batshit crazy and have lots of quirks and have things that I could look at and say, that's the thing about you that I find annoying. And that at the same fucking time, that's the thing about you that I love. And this group of friends is so good at looking at each other and saying, and admiring the quirks in each other, even though it can be so fucking annoying. And I'm incredibly close with my family as well. My mom and my dad and my two sisters.
I can only imagine how the annoyance and love go hand in hand.
It really does. I look at my mom, my dad, my sisters, and we're so close that it's really been a practice. What that is learning how to have that grace and being able to love people's quirks and annoyances and rejoice in them and honor them is a practice in intimacy. That's what true intimacy looks like. And it's really powerful when you give people the space and you give yourself the space to just be yourselves and have your quirks and have your weirdness and allow people to grow and work on the things that they need to work on without judging them. It's a lifelong practice. Some days I'm wildly resentful. Those are the dark days. But I need deep rest. But I don't even know how we start talking about all of that.
I don't know. Did we start with Dr. Phil, or we led into
that. We were talking about you and you and finding contentment and all of that stuff.
It's so funny. It's easy to look at something like starting a podcast or making YouTube videos, because I follow YouTubers, quote unquote, and I look at that and like the production value that they put in and the hard work that they put in. It's,
oh my God, I was looking at the time and I thought it was 7:45.
6:41.
Oh my God, I almost had a heart attack. I have to be at improv class at 8, everyone. We're good. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's fine.
Keep going.
It's easy to get intimidated and say, I can't do that. Yeah, you probably can at first. You can't be that good. If you are, more power to you.
Mm-hmm. You're a weird savant.
Yeah, but I'm just, am I? I
mean, you are a weird savant. You're amazing at it.
But again, I have a lot of friends who are into video and cinematography, and I can utilize that to my advantage. Mm-hmm. And I did. And it's liberating. Mm-hmm. It's liberating. I'm doing it. I'm doing something. Because I can easily sit there and wallow like, I'm not getting any gigs. And do people really like me? Am I really not all that good? It's easy to fall into that trap. And I get into that trap sometimes.
Oh, I can
Especially,
too. Yeah.
And that's the one thing that's the biggest stressor for me is the age of social media. If social media didn't exist, I'd be super happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm content. But when you start to pay attention to likes and views and start to pay attention to that stuff, which you should, because it's a barometer to how much you have to improve.
Yes, yeah.
But it's also easy to fall into that no one likes it. No one likes it mentality.
100%. I think that's really a really vulnerable and beautiful admission, because it's true, and we all deal with that constantly. Yeah. I think there's many studies out there that say that people who have social media are more likely to be depressed than people who...
Oh, yeah.
It's just life.
I would love to see the depression numbers that people have since the invention of Twitter and Facebook. And because if you look on Facebook, just Facebook, let's just talk about Facebook for a second. If you look at Facebook, all you're seeing is everyone's great days. No one's ever posting the shitty days. I mean, sometimes you get that. Sometimes you get the crazy uncle that complains about Trump, and then you get the friend that just constantly talks about her ex-boyfriend, and you're like, oh my gosh. But most of it is people on vacation and they should do that. I'm not saying that's terrible. They should totally do that. They should use that avenue to say, look how great, look how great, things are going for me, but, to see if that's all you see and you compare that to your own life, that's when you get into trouble.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. I went through a really hard time recently, and I think that the thing that is really helpful, and I don't know if you've ever done this, like when you were in your moments of depression, or I will say that I went through a difficult time, and it was the first time where I exercised this, which was really, really, really important. Is that my phone?
This is my phone.
Oh. And it's actually a huge thing that they teach in Christianity that I didn't even like really put into practice. But it's waking up in the morning, and when you don't, it's literally me saying, I am so thankful that I own a home, that I own my sweet puppy pony. I'm so thankful. It's like the practice of gratitude. Holy shit, how powerful that has been in just an exercise on those harder days. I catch myself and say, oh, I am so grateful that, hey, this may not be happening for me, but I'm so grateful that this is happening for me.
Yeah.
To have that my mindset and that shift this year has been amazing with me learning how to do that with all these different projects I'm doing, or when I'm feeling down about certain projects, or I feel like something's not taking off, or I feel intimidated, or I feel like anything like that. It's when I have the emotional wherewithal to do it. It's insane.
Yeah. It's again, but it's the thing. It's the thing where it's easy to focus on negative things, and that goes with every single.
That's very human of us.
It's so. But I don't understand why. It's got to be like an evolutionary biology thing.
It is.
I mean, because
I don't know for a fact, but I think it is. Pretty sure.
Well, think about it. Think about the most horrible tweets are the ones that get the most retweets, and the ones that get the most attention, and. Or negative headlines. You never see that story that you told me earlier about the son who was raised by his mother, and the son tried to kill her, and she drove through it, and now he's a fantastic young man, and you don't never hear those stories because, and I don't know what it is about the human brain that will take that story and be like, yeah, whatever. I want to know if climate change is real. Yeah. Or I want to see what Trump is doing, and then I'm going to get mad at it, and then I'm going to go on Twitter, and then I'm going to tweet at him, and I'm going to tweet at his friends, and I'm going to,
Well, people are addicted to anger. People are addicted to anger and that emotional high.
It is intoxicating. I will say it is. Yeah. There have been moments where you just get so mad and
so jazzed.
You hate that you're mad, but at the same time you're releasing something. Your body's telling you, hey man, you gotta scream or punch a sofa or something. You gotta do something, otherwise you're gonna internalize it, and you're just gonna blow
up someday, and
you're gonna behead
a frog for no good reason.
Yeah, or blow up at the poor stock boy at Kroger. I didn't do that. I'm just saying that's an example.
Poor stock boy. Oh, it's such a hard day.
The reason why I brought that up is we're watching Ozark, and the wife.
Oh, it's so good, right?
That part where the wife yells at that boy. I'm like, that poor dude.
Oh, when she's trying to get the ice cream, and he's like, what the fuck?
That poor guy. Yeah. It's easy to focus on negative things, and I hate that. I hate that because I do it too. And it's so easy, especially with Facebook.
It's the easiest thing.
And it's with like political stuff too. And
you've always been very political ever since I've known you.
Political.
You're an intellectual, I suppose.
I'm intellectual.
Yeah.
And
you like to
lately, as I get older, when I was younger, I was super hardcore liberal. And I still am. I still have liberal views. I think the government has a place for regulations such as the environment. I think we need to protect our environment. I think that crosses both aisles, because if we don't have an environment to live in, we're all fucked. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yes, Shane. Yeah. Yeah.
And on guns, I'm kind of liberal on it too, but I can understand the other argument. That's the thing. As I get older, I can understand the other side often. And that's what kind of worries me about the left and the right, respectively. These fringes are the loudest of the moderates. Of the moderate people that are kind of like, yeah, I can understand their side. I don't believe it, but yeah, I can understand. The people who are like, no, it must be this way. You are wrong. And if you don't like everything that I say or agree with everything that I espouse, then you are not a part of my team.
It's the angriest people who are the loudest and the one everyone hears. So it's going to be the people who are the most emotional and on the fringes, because all the level-headed fuckers in the middle, they're just like, well, I mean, I have my opinion. I understand yours. There's nothing to scream about. They're like...
And plus, I don't find myself an advocate for those things, because I'm not that intelligent. I'm not the guy who went into all of the research regarding guns or net neutrality is the new thing that people are all up in arms about. And I don't know which side is real, because I went and researched both sides. saying like, okay, so Comcast says that you'll actually save money because you can not pay for things like Snapchat, things that you don't use. I can understand that point of view. At the same time, I think the internet should be a utility and not be priced out. And I'm like, I'm torn. I
don't know anything about net. I know barely anything.
And it's so complicated to me.
Okay, yeah.
And most of these stuff are complicated.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't want to be an advocate for either side.
Because you don't feel educated enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
even
for
if,
sure.
Even if I were to read statistics and take a study for what it is, and I think that's a lot of people do, and I've realized this now after like kind of just researching and listening to people like more moderate, more people like the Factual Feminist who was on Joe Rogan Experience, and that conversation opened my eyes to the tears.
I don't think she's very moderate, but yeah,
but she gives another side of feminism, which frankly I thought it was like, okay, I get that, and so I kind of was like, I lost my train of thought.
How you can't have a stance on something because. Because you understand both sides, essentially. It's hard for you to be super passionate. I want to understand
both sides.
Yeah.
Because if nothing else, to understand if I believe something is true, to understand the argument and then to argue against that argument.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not equipped to do any of that. I'm not the political guy. I can just do my best, and people will cite an article or a study, and then I'll hear the other side's like, well, guess who did that study? It was this guy, and he has a vested interest for the result.
Right. It's like you can't trust any of the information, the statistics or the facts that you want to support your argument. How do you even trust them? Because you don't know if they're
right.
Right.
And so it's tiring.
Yeah.
It's tiring, and I just want to if we get into a conversation on the podcast, I want to make sure that I have all the information available to me, but not make an argument for it. Because I'm not equipped to. I mean, there are things that I agree with, but I'm also malleable to those things.
Well, Shane, what that says about you is that you are a full-grown ass adult who is equipped with grace, empathy, and which are the telling signs of just being an intelligent human being and wanting to learn, which is also a sign of intelligence. So
I appreciate that.
I mean, I'm just being honest because I'm the same way. My goodness. Yeah. It's, they're just the conversations. This is a very obvious statement, but specifically when it's something, rewind, start over. So the racial conversations that have been happening the last 5 or 6 years, the racial conversations that have been happening for hundreds of years.
Yeah, of course.
But specifically the Black Lives Matter movement and all these different movements that have been progressing the racial culture of America, blah, 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 blah. I think the one thing that people have said that has really hit home with me is if it makes you uncomfortable, lean into that and just stop having an opinion and just listen. Like if you aren't a Black person, if you've never had that experience, stop acting like you understand, because you won't, and you don't, and you never will.
Correct.
And just listen.
Yeah.
And like, why do people get angry when people say that to them? It's just logic. It's like, you won't be, you're not, you don't, you are not. And because the most powerful thing that we can offer to a situation or a story is our own stories, not an opinion, not, well, I heard over here, I looked at this study. Hey, like, I don't know much about those studies, but hey, this is my story. This is what I've experienced. So that's all I can offer to you right now.
It's that whole, when you talk about, I guess I'm going to say it's identity politics. Is that what I'm saying? Okay. So I feel, again, from the outside looking in, because I don't want to espouse to whatever group is correct. I love a
caveat.
I just want to always find the caveat if there is one. And if there's always two sides, and I want to know why all of a sudden now we have an all lives matter movement that only started when Black Lives Matter came. Why did this start? And from looking at it in an outside view perspective, it's all a trap. It's all a trap.
That sounds
especially because what I mean by that is regardless of race or sex or whatever, every single person is born in a different environment with different parents, with different worldviews. And no matter how hard I empathize with your life as a woman, as a singer, as anything, no matter how hard I empathize, I will never truly know what it means to be a woman.
Or sympathize, I suppose. Yeah.
Yes. I will never know. So I can only base my own worldview against your worldview. And it's just a trap. It doesn't, all the arguments will go towards, well, of course you would say that because you'd never lived my life. And at the same time, you're like, yeah, I've never lived your life, but I'm trying to empathize. Have you had those arguments where someone would stop the argument by saying, hey, well, you don't know what you're talking about because you never went through such and such?
Yes. When people say that to me, I have usually said, yeah, that you're right. That doesn't offend me if they're just stating, well, you don't really understand because you haven't been through that. I'm not saying it. If it's someone I trust and that I'm friends with, and they say that to me, I'd be like, well, you're right. Like, help me understand. If it's just someone being aggressive at me because of their own hurt, and it's nothing personal, but it feels very personal. Yeah. That kind of comment's kind of rude. But I mean, for the most part,
but they might not say it, but they definitely think it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the trap begins, because automatically, if, let's say, for example, I had a terrible life, I had a terrible family, I lived in bumfuck middle of the South, had a terrible family, parents were drug dealers, blah, 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 blah. Terrible environment.
This is actually true.
This is definitely not true. This is the opposite of my life. I had a great life and great parents. But I would have a very terrible worldview, and it would really be hard for someone that's went through that to like listen to anyone else's like crying or trying to tell me what I should do because they don't know. I'm not articulating this very well, but you see where I'm going with this? Like,
I hear you. I understand that. I think that I think that's an emotional maturity thing. So I think, and you also have to have the emotional energy to navigate that situation at any given point. And energy is something I don't have a lot of. So I have to drink a lot of caffeine in order to deal with situations like that.
Yeah.
But I think hopefully if you were in a situation, hopefully as we all get older and it's something that you've talked about, you learn to have more empathy for people, and you learn that pain is relative, and that just because what happened to them is nothing compared to what you went through, it was still really painful. Pain is relative, and that was still really painful for them. And you have grace for that. You still judge them a little bit. You keep that to yourself. No, but you have grace for that. And that's just becoming, that's just kind of like what I've been saying. It's a lot, giving people space and allowing space for people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's really hard when you're looking at like, let's say I'm listening to Kim Kardashian complain about how she lost her diamond earring in the ocean and she's crying about it. And there was a whole like little snip of that I saw somewhere, and her sisters were like, Kim, listen, that is not a big deal. And Kim's like, it was $50,000. For her, that was painful. And you're like, oh, okay. But it is hard for me looking at someone so privileged to be like, I'm trying to understand why I get it, but also not a big deal in the big scheme of things. But, it's that
But who knows? Maybe that ring was given to her by Kanye and it was really important to her.
Well, she had explained it. She explains it later why it was such a big deal. And then you're like, oh, that makes sense. But she also admits, it's not a big deal at the same time. So you end up having...
Again, but you're talking about... Yeah, exactly. What I'm trying to say is when you compare misery...
Yeah.
I don't think we should do that. I think when you compare misery, it's just... again, it's subjective.
It is very subjective.
Me losing something that my mom gave me might have really hurt me to the point of full-on depression. And the same thing could have happened to someone else, and they'd have been like, it's
Hated
whatever.
my mom, not a big deal.
or, I love my mom, but,
Right.
it's not a big deal. It's a thing.
Yeah.
At least I still have my mom. Yeah. So it's everything. Again, it's just, it's a fascinating thing that we're all going through. Everyone's yelling at each other, and I'm really hoping that moderate people will be able to just, on both sides, be like, hey, we're all human here. We all have different opinions. Let's just calm it down a little bit, and we'll have a civil discourse, because that's the way America's built, is we're all here together, stuck on this fucking island. Not island, but this land.
Yep.
This land of sorts, and we all gotta work together. We've done it this far. We should continue to do so.
Yeah, I mean, America is a crazy experiment. You put all these different tribes together, tribes that have been separate for millennia, and you expect them to just figure it out and learn how to work together. It's an amazing experiment, and we're doing pretty good considering.
Yeah.
But it's really hard when you have a leader who is inflammatory. Obama was, in my opinion, felt, despite what people's opinions about him, such a great level-headed communicator.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are criticisms that I have for President Obama, especially for the stuff we did overseas and how many people and innocents have died under his watch. But he at least, and not to take away from any of that, but at the same time, he was, just like you said, he looked and acted like a president I would want my president to act and look like.
Yeah. So that was great, having that voice of, I suppose, moderation. It's when your leader has the communication style of someone who can see both sides and has grace and knows how to hug groups of people who are in pain.
Yeah.
He was really good at that, acknowledging people's pain. That's when the moderate voices win and the intellectual voices win, and having civil discourse wins. When your leader is kind of paving the way, it's really hard to create that culture when you don't have leadership that cultivates that. But
you could make the argument that we don't need to talk about this too much, but you can also make the argument, because
we all know it was
when Obama was in office, there was a huge surge of racial epithets towards him, and just the whole thing about him being from Kenya, which was ironically started by Trump.
Oh God.
And it's I just look at the world, and it's tough with a person like Trump in office, because a person like him, he exacerbates
He
issues.
masturbates.
Well, exacerbates.
Oh, I thought you said masturbates.
I'm pretty sure he does that.
100%.
He exacerbates problems that otherwise wouldn't seem as big as they are. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Because like with the stuff
He is addicted to drama. Just what we're talking about. He is addicted to. He is a millennial. He is addicted to social media.
He's the first millennial.
He is literally like a 70-year-old millennial.
It's like, and all
Give
the other
that kid an
millennials.
Instagram.
And all the millennials spawned off of Trump.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a horrible alien sequel.
He's a creature. Anyways, yeah. How did we even start talking about?
I don't know.
We are going on so many bunny trails.
Yeah. Well, we got a little bit left. I mean, I know you got to leave here soon. Let's see.
How long usually are your podcasts?
Hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a nice car ride.
I think we're almost hitting 2 hours.
When did we start?
I think, 5:30?
Everyone, I was an hour and a half late to the podcast, but that's only because I was doing a project before that, an Instagram project called Single in the South. It's a Instagram with a bunch of skits about being single in the South.
Is that the comedy thing? Oh, wait. Because remember you telling me you were doing like a YouTube comedy. sitcom sort of thing.
Oh, maybe this is what I was talking about. So it's called Single in the South, and
Okay.
it's just this. Me and my two friends are doing like Instagram. So in LA, it's a huge thing where people do Instagram skits. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like they do this like on Instagram.
Kind of like Vines?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So we're just doing that. No one has done it in the South, and we're just doing it, and we think it'll be really funny. Single in the South, South with a 0, all separate words. But it's also a chance for me to exercise my directorial skills, my writing skills, and all that kind of stuff to implement into longer form storytelling with film. So that's why I was late. Anyways, we were talking about
You were
time of
bettering
podcast.
yourself.
I was bettering myself. Exactly. When you become a one-stop shop for everything, you learn how to do everything. Like we don't have a production team or whatever. We're learning how to do everything, just like you're learning how to do all your video editing, all that shit. It's a whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
And with that,
I think we should end it on that.
adieu.
Thank you so much, Beta, for
Thank you
coming.
for having me, Shane. It was
We should
wonderful.
definitely do
catching
this
up.
again.
I would be obsessed.
I love having these conversations.
I should send you. Yes, I'll send you some more people that I think would be very interesting for your
I would
podcast.
love that. I would absolutely love that because I'm running out of guests.
Oh, great! I've got plenty.
I'm recycling some, which is fine. It's totally fine. Which is the name of the whole idea of the podcast is Shane sits down with his friends to talk about literally anything. So, that's it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you
Goodbye,
so much.
everyone.